Thanks, Mel. I appreciate that. This one's for Stephen over here. So in your talk today, you mentioned sort of like America's need a return to spirituality that can kind of lift people up from addictions to their phones, stuff like that, that can kind of, not a religious center to keep people on a moral level, but yeah, it almost sounds like you're arguing for like a re-faith in the American process. I know that you're big on canvassing. I drove some minions to your canvassing in Georgia. What would be your answer to like first steps to try to regain people's political faith and stop the fracturing too much?
Yeah, I think one of the huge things that we have right now is political fracturing, and I think the political fracturing has made it impossible for anybody to be proud of the country because like even things that we do that I think are amazing, like become hardcore politicized. So this is a risky one in Tennessee. I don't know how much the audience is mind, but like I would consider, for instance, like the development of the mRNA vaccines. I think that that is like a championing of the American project. That was capitalism at its best, with Trump doing the warp speed thing to use the government to incentivize like a company that was working with other companies all over the world to engineer and create a vaccine in like less than 1 year for a novel virus. That's something that I would hope that like every American would be like, that's really cool that we did that we were able to do it that fast, you know? I know Trump wants to take credit for it, and I think he should get some credit for it because I think the warp speed was a good idea. You know, he guaranteed money for those companies to take the risk to make those vaccines. But because we're so hardcore politicized, we can't take credit for that. It becomes a political issue where, you know, even the political party that existed under Trump now hates the vaccine, and then liberals have their thing with the vaccine. It feels like every single, the intervention that we did with Ukraine, I think was really amazing. I think the fact that Ukraine was a country that looked like it had no opportunity whatsoever to stand up to Russia, and with NATO intelligence, with US leadership in NATO, I think we've done something amazing there, but we've helped them largely on their own. I mean, it's not US lives that are being lost, you know, not to take any credit from Ukraine. That's something that I think is really amazing that America's done. Even things like Bush's programs to fight AIDS in Africa, or Bill Gates, you know, funding for malaria in Africa. All of these things, I think, are really amazing projects that America's done, that all of us, irrespective of our political differences, should be able to look and go, oh, that's really cool. I'm American. America did that, and I feel really proud of it. But nobody does, because instead these are like all political pawns to use in our little arguments on Twitter and stuff for us. So to return to your question, I don't like anybody that says a return to anything because it feels a bit fantastical. I don't know of any society that's ever like said, okay, well, we're going to undo the last 50 years of progress and go back to this thing. I don't think it really works that way, especially with how much technology has changed everything. So we need to be forward-looking, not looking into the past. And I think that forward-looking thing, it has to be with less division, because the more divided we are, the more impossible it is for us to kind of all collectively like work and vie towards one particular thing, which in my hope would be like the American project, you know, however differently we all view it.
I just have a quick follow-up question to that. So
yeah, go
a
for
lot
it.
of the wins that you mentioned were not specifically American government wins. Like a lot of those are private companies, like the mRNA vaccines. Like, yeah, it's a great marvel of science, but a lot of that were, you know, they got funded, but it was private companies that did that. It wasn't the American government that made it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but those companies existed in America for a reason. And a lot of the public research that had already been done on like the mRNA process, that stuff spans back to, I think, like the 80s, where people were starting to do that. So we do a lot of public funding for general research, and then we had private American companies. But you're right, it wasn't just the American government. But I mean, I'm an American. Fuck, as Americans, we hate the government, right? I know in Tennessee you guys hate the government, right? Yeah, I'm not saying that like the American government has to do it. I'm saying America as a country has to do it. And sometimes that can be our, you know, our biggest companies. But, you know, like I said before, like it feels like now everybody fucking hates our biggest company. Nobody likes Facebook. Nobody likes ExxonMobil. Nobody likes fucking any huge American company. We all like shit on our companies, and those are like some of the largest things we built as Americans. And it's like, well, fuck. Like, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like we're in an area where, I'd be super curious. I did this with Adam Sosnick when I was on his podcast last. Like, when you ask people, like, what are you proud to be an American for? That's a really difficult question to ask a lot of people. I think when I ask my parents, like, I'll get things like, you know, like winning the Cold War, or stuff from like decades and decades ago. And I was like, okay, well in the past, like, I should be able to say in the past 5 years, really. But like at least in the past like 10 or 20 years, you know, like what, are you proud to be an American? You know, people on the left will complain about colonialism and white supremacy, and people on the right, well now all they complain about is trans people, but like it just feels like we have nothing that we can kind of all say like, okay, yeah, you know, it sucks that we fought, but like in '69 we went to the moon. Like we don't have our moon launching now. Oh, I guess aside from the vaccines, I'll give one more example so I'm not too partisan. Elon Musk. I hate that guy, okay? I really do. But Tesla's really fucking cool, and so are the rockets. SpaceX is really cool. having the rocket come back to the planet is a really fucking cool thing. When we first saw that, I don't know how many people watched that first stream. That was like the coolest fucking thing ever. And this was after we were shipping our astronauts over, I think, to China or Russia to fly on their fucking shuttles to get up to the International Space Station. But that's something like you can't be proud of, because now if I say like, I don't like Elon Musk, but like SpaceX and Tesla are pretty fucking cool. That's like a political talking point now. It's like, wait, you support the white supremacist guy that wants to, bring people like Milo and me back to Twitter? Like, I don't know. Just the political division makes it impossible for us to have like this shared idea of what it means to be American and what we should be proud of. And I think we need to work on getting that back.
I think people like stuff that's good and they don't like stuff that's bad. People don't uniformly hate the government even here. I mean, people know that there are...
All right, bye. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.